You're in the VIP section of Black Women in Radio, the podcast, a decade of the new woman. I'm your host, Felicia Love, along with our special guest, Cristal Bubblin.
Somebody said bubblin the other day, and I was like, it's just bubbling. It's just bubbling with no G, guys.
It's not that serious. It's not rocket science.
Cristal was a popular thing when I started in radio. So literally, I used to say Cristal, keeping it bubbling on the radio. And my caller, like people would call in and be like, Cristal Bubblin, can you play that record?
I love it.
And then I like used it as like my social media handle or MySpace, and somebody booked a hotel room for me at a conference with it. So I was like, well, I guess that's my name.
That's your name. It's stuck.
Yep.
I love it. Cool story. Well, we've got a whole lot more of those stories with Cristal Bubblin. We got her here on Black Women in Radio podcast. Woo!
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here again. I'm so sorry I was late.
No worries at all. You know what? I have to say, you know how it is, how difficult it is to, as a producer, to find who you're going to have on the show, schedule them, keep up with their schedules, make it mesh with your schedule, blah, 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 and then make it happen. And I have to say, since I've been doing the Black Women in Radio podcast, I've only had maybe one or two people that were no-shows, and that's pretty darn good since April.
That's great.
What? That's great. Yeah. So no worries. You're here.
Yeah. Happy to be talking with you.
I am happy to have you. I saw you on what was it, Unsung, not too long ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, what artist was I watching? Because I watch it so many times, I forgot who was on. Who did you?
Well, I did interviews for Lloyd, Glenn Jones, Shannon. Shannon. Okay, yeah. Let the music play.
Yes, it was
a bop. A timeless bop.
I love it. And, you know, having Black Women in Radio, the one thing that we do not have is a list of everybody who has been in Black Women in Radio. So it's always a gem. It's like uncovering another jewel or gem. When I see somebody, I'm like, we've not talked to her. I didn't know she was in radio. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that is awesome. April. Oh my gosh. She's a commentator for CNN. April. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I forgot April's last name. You remember who I'm talking about?
It's not April Ryan?
Ryan.
Yeah.
Can't believe I forgot her last name. Anyway, I didn't realize she was in radio. I uncovered a old picture of April Ryan, and I was like, oh my God, she was in radio too. So it is so cool when we're able to meet another sister and bring them into the fold. So welcome.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be a part of it.
Yes. Now you started radio in Houston, right?
Actually, I started in Greensboro, North Carolina at 102 Jam.
Well, tell me, do tell.
Yeah. So like, and this was the 90s, okay? So I went to North Carolina A&T, and I had to transfer in because I was playing silly on my SATs or whatever. So I had to like transfer in. So I was some credits behind, and so I was just like trying to take whatever class I could take to get, back on track. And they had like a 1 credit practicum in our communications building. And, a lot of people were like, it's 1 credit, it's not worth it. Because I think most of the classes were like 3 credits at the time. And I was like, well, whatever, I'll take it. And they were like, you got to find like an internship or whatever. And so mine was that I wanted to work in radio. So I started faxing Mary Kay at 102 Jam, and like faxing and calling, just annoying her. And I think it was over like spring break too. And so when I finally got back from spring break back to Greensboro, she finally agreed to meet with me. And she was like, I just had to see the person in person who's been bothering me so much. She was like, when you faxed me, I was like, just bring her in. Just what?
Faxing me.
Yeah, she was like, if nothing else, I just wanted to tell you to leave me alone. But I was charming and talented, so I became an intern, and I wound up interning, and then I was on the research team within, I guess I was like, within like 4 months, I was on the research team. Now, some of y'all don't know, but they used to have teams, little computers that would call listeners and ask them survey questions.
Oh my God, I've forgotten about that. That's right.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah, and we used to pull our carts. It wasn't all automated. I was pulling carts.
You were not back in the cart day, girl.
Listen, I was back in the cart day. Tight board contest winner, pulling carts, keeping my boards tight, and getting sprites for the afternoon guy, and doing all that. So yeah, I started at 102 Jams, and then eventually I was part-time there. I actually, it's funny to me, I actually never technically left 102 Jams. I was suspended indefinitely. So
look, I'm not gonna laugh, but radio is funny like that. It's like, what you mean? I'm not on it. What?
So I just wonder, sometimes I'll be like, let me just call up I don't even know who's over there now. Let me just, because Brian Douglas still over there. Brian, can I come back and do my Saturday morning shift? Because I'm suspended indefinitely. Because I never technically got fired, and I never quit.
Right, exactly.
Still on suspension.
So you should still be on the payroll.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. They owe me some unemployment money.
Radio, boy, I tell you, I have not heard of suspended indefinitely. Now I've been flat, let go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Today's your last day. We got good ratings. What are you saying? Yeah,
I had one of those too.
Yeah, where was that? Was that in North Carolina? Was it Houston?
That was in North Carolina at Foxy 99.
Oh. Mm-hmm. So what happened with that?
So that I actually had I had found out there was a conspiracy to get rid of me.
Oh Lord, not one of those plots.
Oh yeah, and like at that point I had so our afternoon guy, I came in kind of in like the middle of the ratings book to the station. And by the end of that book, the numbers had jumped significantly, and middays beat afternoon for the first time in like ever. Wow. And after that, the afternoon guy had his sights set on me. Mm. So like anything I did was a problem. And he and the program director were like besties. So they were like, And so the final thing was one day, me and my DJ, who did the midday mix with me, we kind of got into it, and he cornered me and was like yelling in my face. Now this dude was probably like 5'11", solid 400 pounds. Like he was a big dude, and he was just in my face yelling at me, and I was very upset because up until that point, I regarded him as a good friend, and we had like helped each other with like exposure because he's a really, really dope DJ. So I had helped him get in like a DJ coalition and stuff like that. And he was just like yelling at me and in my face, and I was uncomfortable, and I was already frustrated because at the time, not only was I doing middays, but I was working 2 part-time jobs.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't give me remotes because of the homieism with the afternoon guy and the PD. And the afternoon guy was also the music director and a sales rep. So.
Oh yeah. You ain't getting no remotes.
I wasn't getting no remotes. So I was getting off air, and I was going and working at Applebee's or this hair salon called Nubian's Natural. Big shout out to Irena for holding me down. So like that particular day, I was already tired, and then the DJ just came in and had beef or whatever. And so he like cornered me, and I was like really frustrated and kind of scared, and like legit started crying. And it was really the end of my shift. So I just like maneuvered myself out of the corner and grabbed my stuff and left. And I didn't do my last break. My program director followed me out, and we had a long conversation in the parking lot. And he was like, "Are you coming back?" I was like, "Yes, I'm confused. I'm scared. Like, this is my homie and he's barking in my face, and it's uncomfortable. And then like you guys got this whole thing against me. And all I want to do is make good radio. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here being braggadocious or putting stuff in their face. Like, and y'all just doing a lot." And so a week later, they fired me, and I was like, "Why?" I was like, "So what's your reason for firing me? What did I do?" And they were like, and he literally, the program director literally said, "It's just you.
Wow.
You won't cooperate." And I was like, "Well, what is it that I haven't done that you've asked me to do?"
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Well, you won't do the free stuff." And I was like, "I won't do the free stuff because you don't make anybody else do the free stuff." And I've done a lot of the free stuff, but
right.
you don't make anybody else do the free stuff, especially your afternoon drive homie,
Mm-hmm.
who's a sales rep, so he's selling remotes, booking himself as the talent.
Yeah.
And then, booking himself as the talent to host, and he's a DJ, so he's booking himself as a talent to spin. So he's getting like 3 checks off of one thing.
Wow.
And you want me to do bumper sticker stops all afternoon, and I can't go to the Kroger and make a little 150? Nah, bruh.
Plus you have 2 jobs after this one? Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Boy, I tell you, I wish I could say, Cristal, you're making it up, but I've heard stories like that so much.
Listen, and they still doing all my stuff, all that midday mix segments, way back, all that was me. That was me, fam.
That was me, Cristal. Fam. Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Radio is a hot mess.
It is.
So many aspects, especially when it comes to women.
Yes, and it's very thankless, and it's always been funny to me how like you can have a station like you can have an urban station playing hip hop music, and the afternoon drive guy will be like 56 years old, but as soon as the midday girl turns 30, they want to shift her over to urban AC or oldies and stuff.
That may not be true, but God, it feels like it. It feels like it. That feels like the truth.
Absolutely true. Because even so, when the last station that I did mornings and middays at was in Houston, and even then, like for me, it just stopped kind of being fun. When PPM came out, and they started like cutting the time for the personalities, because I feel like there's a big difference between being an on-air talent or a jock and then being a personality. And I was a personality, and they started like, it was always like, your talk breaks are 30 seconds to a minute 30, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, but that's it. And child, I could just talk about these people doing 3-minute talk breaks today, and I just, what are we doing here? What are we doing? But anyway, they kind of like try to take the personality out of it, which for me disconnected you from the listener. And I loved our listeners, whatever market. I loved communicating and being around, the people that support the station. And folks will say like, well, radio is about advertising, they listen to the music and then they stay for the commercials, but they also stay for the personalities, because they come out
the music and the personalities, and the commercials just happen to be in there.
Exactly. Right. And then, because when they come out to this Dodge location They don't come out and be like, oh, I was interested in a caravan. They come out and be like, my girl, Cristal Bubblin, what you said about Alicia Keys or whatever was funny the other day, and they want to chop it up about that. And while we're here, we'll look at a car. You know what I mean?
That's exactly true.
Yeah, so it kind of stopped being fun for me. So I was just like, my station flip format, and I was like, all right, it's fine. But yeah, even then, I did for like a minute. I was like, okay, let me try and find another job. And it was like, I legit had just turned 30. I just turned 30. And I would apply at these urban stations. They were like, well, you know, our listener demographic is younger, so maybe we could look into something at the urban AC. And now I can do urban AC, you know what I'm saying? I could queue up a Luther, Anita with the best of them.
Yes.
But I'm still twerking. I'm still out here, like, you know what I mean? They act like, you know.
Yes.
Like at the time, I didn't even have a gray hair. They like, okay, you're gonna be over here playing this Patti LaBelle. Say what? What? And I love Patti, but then, you know what I'm saying? I want to be over here. I want to play the Crazy in Love. I want to, you know.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, you are so right. Look, you're gonna make me do my ugly laugh all through this interview. Now, cut it out.
Please do, man. We need laughter right now anyway. Like,
what you talking about? Absolutely. Absolutely. I hadn't thought about that aspect. Now, I've heard many since we've been doing the podcasting, but nobody brought that point up. But you are absolutely right. I remember sitting in the studio and hearing people say, oh, well, you know, demographically, they're saying that, you know, certain records aren't what these women are interested in. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? We like that stuff. That demo. Yes. Nobody's ever asked, right?
Yes.
But you are so right. Oh my gosh. I think 30 is the magic number, and you get to roll out. Yeah. Go play Dusty's oldies.
Yeah. And you know, and you see it to this day, or even like the aesthetic, right? Like now that it's become, a lot about like your social media followers or influencers or whatever. The girls on this, the ladies on the radio, the one midday girl, maybe the girl on the morning show, out here looking like Megan Thee Stallion. Yeah. And you know, your afternoon drive, your nighttime drive, or your host of the morning show, that guy out here looking like, I don't know, Lavelle Crawford or Faison Love or something. And no disrespect, you know what I'm saying? But it just don't match up. Like,
it don't match up. It don't balance out. It don't.
Why we don't have Boris Kojo, Morris Chestnut, Idris Elba looking radio personalities? You know what I mean?
Exactly. When I found out Idris was a DJ, oh my goodness, I ate that information up. I would watch it on YouTube. I'm like, Idris playing at my party? Oh my God, I'd lose it.
Yeah. And that Bossy record, man, that still goes.
Isn't it? Oh, that is my favorite.
Bossy. Godfather, man a OG, man a half humble.
Oh no, that's our record.
Bossy, house on the coast G. My money so looking
gotta give him this.
All right. You the nut on the dance floor at the club. You be trying to be all serious and cute and turn around, look at you, and just
yeah, I'm all over the place.
Just crack it up. I love it. I just wanted to rip that. Of course, I'm gonna have to bring it down to about 15 seconds, maybe 10, maybe 9. Right. It just got more money than me. But I just wanted to bring that into the conversation because we both love it. That you should know very well now that you're in production. Tell us about your production company, Camp.
Yeah, so my friends Khalil and I and our other friends Eric and Chance, you know, after I left radio, I started working in television production, and eventually when I came out to LA, you know, just auditioning, and it's kind of the same thing for Black women in Hollywood, you know, there aren't a lot of roles for us. Or they, you know, they typecast you. And I was tired of can you make it more urban?
Oh,
You
you
know,
were told you weren't Black enough too?
oh yeah, all the time, all the time, honey. I'm really, and listen, I'm really tired of the curly wig era. Like, I'm really tired of the curly wig era. That's kind of why I shaved my head.
Yeah.
But even though I still got my curly wig for auditions. So if you're casting, I'm a good now.
Look, go ahead, plug, girl, plug away.
Right. I'm versatile, but
Yes.
listen, guys, can we all look? So I was working in post production on Greenleaf on OWN, and when the show went on hiatus, I was just incredibly frustrated because I had been auditioning for stuff, not booking, whether it's my look or it's my talent or whatever. Or there were like times where I would audition for stuff and the breakdown would totally have like my look, like me, brown skin, plus size, blah, blah, blah. And then when the film or the TV show came out, it was like a skinny Latina actress. Wow. Or like, like a super tall white woman. And it's like, whatever. So my friend Khalil and I was just venting to him one day. And I was like, listen, whatever we got, we just going to shoot it. We just going to start our own thing. Yeah. And he was like, well, what do you have? And I was like, let me call you back. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have anything, but our friend Chance had something. And that became Black Spider-Man. So we shot 5 episodes of that. Cool. We wrote, produced, directed it. Everybody directed an episode. And then we did, first Khalil had this idea for a show called Shoot Your Shot, which was basically a pickup line competition game. And we eventually sold that to Revolt. And but it's known as Blocked now. We had to change the name because there were a bunch of shows called Shoot Your Shot. So on the revolt.tv website, revolt.tv/blocked, that show is up. And then Black Spider-Man, and then we did kind of like a weekly clip show called Talking About, that is kind of like Best Week Ever. But our show, it makes social justice and comics because we're all like big into like superheroes and stuff like that and Black people. And so cool. Yeah, our website is campproductions.com, and that's the same thing for our YouTube. And it's just a lot of fun, blackety black, funny content. We actually just had a Zoom call the other day about some stuff we wanted to pitch and set up coming up, trying to come out of the pandemic, with some guns a-blazing. And then I started a podcast that I do annually, maybe.
You say annually? When you get to it, yeah.
Yeah, when I get to it. I'm gonna bring it back. Shade and Shenanigans is still up. SoundCloud, Apple Music, and Stitcher. I'm gonna do some stuff on Patreon as well, with some exclusive content and some more video stuff. So yeah, it's just been a whole other journey. Like you pay dues every time you switch fields. So it's like I paid my radio dues, and now I'm paying my television entertainment dues.
Right.
So,
right. Wow, Cristal, that is so power packed. I don't know how to unwrap all this. Let me see. Let me start here. What happened to make you decide to move to LA?
Listen. So, one of the jobs post radio, I was a casting assistant on a show in Charlotte, and there was a whole lot of drama in that department. And basically, our casting producer got fired, and that whole team was from LA. But she and I were cool, and we kept in touch. And she was just like, always like, if I have an opportunity, like, I'd love to have you on my team, on my next team or whatever. And sure enough, she booked another show and she was like, hey, I'd love to have you on my team. I was like, bet. I borrowed money from my family. My family was very supportive. I packed up my car. I drove from Charlotte to LA, spent 4
Coast
days
to
on the
coast,
road.
literally.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, I had a good time. I had like Twitter meetups and met a bunch of homies on the way and partied my way on over here to my new life in LA. And you know, they fired me a week later.
Cristal, oh my God.
Yes. Yes.
That's too much.
Yes.
My goodness.
You telling me.
Oh my goodness.
You telling me. But yeah, because of the drama in Charlotte, basically, that casting producer had hired her best friend to be her assistant. Her best friend knew nothing about production.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing. She was just like, you just do what I tell you and I'll get you a check. And her best friend literally, very literally sabotaged her and got her fired. So
no.
Yep. So when I came here to
What
do
a
this
betrayal.
job, yeah, myself and the woman who hired me, her boss, we had the same birthday. And we literally had, like, it was a group meeting and we literally had one conversation about it. And because I used to work in radio and this woman also managed a rapper at the time and I guess was trying to get me to help her with my connects to promote her client and stuff like that, which I wasn't going to do, sis. Your client wasn't it.
Right.
The woman that hired me saw that, and I guess she, had a little PTSD and thought I was gonna sabotage her. So she sabotaged me. But little do they know, it's like they say, they tried to kill us, but they didn't know we were seeds, baby.
Right.
We were seeds, you know what I'm saying? I cussed her out and kept growing.
You cussed her out and kept growing. Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you got to tell me, how did you get yourself out of that headspace to move forward? What happened next?
I really didn't have a choice. I was sleeping on my stepmom's couch and she said, she was like, well, look, why don't you just stay and see what you can, make happen? Like, you've always been creative. I started working in radio my freshman year of college, so I really don't know anything other than entertainment. You know what I mean? And it would be like, I'd be trying to apply for jobs at like McDonald's and they'd be like, girl, like, you overqualified, you on the radio. I had one job tell me, like, I can't tell you what to do when you was on the radio. And I'm like,
I am so glad you are bringing that up. That is a thing that you, as a creative, and you saturate your entire being and career into creativity, be it radio, TV, whatever, acting, whatever. And then life happens and you've got to support yourself. And your resume looks like, I only create, but I do need to eat and I do other things. Will you hire me? No, you don't get hired. Even for the little stuff. I personally have had that problem. So I resonate with you. Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead.
So I just, my stepmom was like, see what you can make happen. And then also the additional motivator of, it was like March and it was 80 degrees here and it was like still 40 degrees back in my hometown in New Jersey. I was like, I'm gonna just stay here and see what we can do. I feel like I've always been pretty resilient and determined, and I'm petty. Like, I make no qualms about it. I'm petty. I have online stores called Petty Swag,
Are you a Scorpio?
No, I'm a Cancer.
You're a Cancer. Yeah, I was going to go there too.
I'm a Cancer, but I was raised by a Virgo. So, and their whole thing is like, success is the best revenge.
Yes.
So,
I have friends that are Scorpios and Cancers, by the way, so y'all don't be writing me. But I know it well. I know it when I hear it. But go ahead.
I feel like Scorpios, Scorpios are petty too, but Scorpios are it's like immediate. Like they're going to get you
Yes.
quick.
Yeah.
Cancers,
Cancers are wait. They're
we're more of a
strategic.
slow burn. Yeah, we're
Mhm.
more of a slow burn. Like we
This-
want you to have that movie montage in your head where you're like, wait, what? Oh, how? What? She did what?
yes. You know, when you
It's
do
all
a
crazy.
rookie mistake, you've been doing this shiznick forever, and you pull a rookie mistake, it's like, really?
But you know, the thing is too, like when you do these podcast interviews, sometimes you just start talking with people and y'all click up and it's like you're talking to a homie. So you don't even think about the technical, the work part about it. You just talking to your homie and you look up
Exactly.
and you like, why is this interview 3.5 hours? Like, you're like, oh, wait a minute. It was, but it's cool. No worries,
That
man.
is the fun part of podcasting. It really is. Being able to network and do it virtually and really, build relationships with people is pretty neat. And those guests that you have, like you said, that click, oh my gosh, they're memorable forever because my cheeks already hurt. I just want you to know. As far as transferable skills are concerned, we were just saying off the air that actresses and actors and athletes, when they try to start singing, we get a little nervous sometimes. It doesn't always land.
Right.
It doesn't always land.
Tyra
She
Banks
just did that.
tried.
She did try.
Kobe tried. No one will be Shaq Fu though. No one will be Shaq Fu. Can we rock? What's up, Doc?
That is original. But Idris was able to pull it off. He was definitely able to pull it off. But when it comes to those skills, when did you realize that you were going to be successful coming out of radio into production?
Honestly, it really wasn't until like last October when we sold our show to Revolt. I suffer from a lot of imposter syndrome.
Oh, do
Like,
you? Wow.
yeah, no matter. Radio was really the only thing where I was like, I can do this, and I did it. You know what I mean? And so transitioning into a whole other kind of field, and because the first full-time job I had out of radio was I was a AP associate producer on Judge Alex. He was like the tall white judge, and they were based out of Houston, Texas. And so what I didn't know when they hired me is they hired me like under duress because somebody had quit, frustrated with all the things that were going on there. So they were like, when they saw my resume, they were like, oh, well, this is similar. Like, you're going to, pull cases and craft the story. And that's just like you, organizing your news stories for your talk breaks and all this other stuff. And so I was like, yeah, okay. But then when I got into the show, it was something totally, absolutely, completely different.
Wow.
And completely nerve-wracking and kind of awful. So I think from that, like on the television aspect and television and film production aspect of it, for a long time I had this like, can I do something else, or you know what I mean? And then but then last year we sold 2 shows to Revolt. They wound up kind of shelving one. But when we did that, and because that happened as a product of me being petty as well, because I was trying, my boy Khalil and I, we went to a panel and we were trying to talk to the woman who was in development, and there were some women talking to her already, but they weren't talking about anything pertinent. And then I saw this other lady trying to creep up and get in the conversation. And the woman from Revolt was standing, it was like a low stage. And so she was standing on the stage and we were like on the ground. And so when I saw the girl creep up, I like put my leg on the stage all hard, like, that ain't what you finna do. And I had already told Khalil, I was like, you go ahead and talk. because I honestly, at the time I didn't feel like going, and I was like, I don't really know what to say. I don't know how to pitch or whatever. But when I saw the other woman trying to creep up,
you
and
better
creep
learn
in
how
and
to
cut us
pitch
in line,
fast.
right?
Yes,
and
yes.
I did. I was, here's what we doing, and this is how we doing it, and da 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 da. And we'd love to sit down with you, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then when we got into the meeting with them, and we're talking about ideas and how to expand it and monetize it and stuff like that, and they were like, "Okay, we'll take that." I was like, "That worked!" Like,
I love it.
my imposter syndrome was like, "Yo, they went for it."
Yeah, yeah.
And it turned out great. So yeah, honestly, that was like 9 years, literally 9 years before I was like, because everything I'd applied for, they, like I said, from McDonald's to NBC, they told me, well, you were on radio, you never been behind the camera or in front of the camera, and there are a lot of similarities.
Yes.
There are a lot of similarities, but people don't like to. What happened to my camera here? People don't like to acknowledge that.
Wow. I am so glad you mentioned that, because I went through the same thing. I went through, like a 3-year drought trying to find my place in the world. It's like, it didn't matter what I applied for, an administrative position to production, TV production. Everybody was saying no. And I was like, what the hell? And like you said earlier, once you turn 30-ish, trying to be on as a DJ is kind of over, truth be told. There are some older women in positions, God bless them, but I couldn't find one. So
right.
And
a lot of times if they're there, they've just been there. Like a standard radio contract, if I remember correctly, was like 5 years. Because I grew up in New Jersey, so I grew up listening to Hot 97, and I was like, I never understood why, like, like Angie Martinez and all them, they'd be on the same radio station doing the same slot for 15 years. I didn't understand that contract is 5 years, and if you're in the number one market, why wouldn't you stay? You know what I'm saying?
Which is true, but most of us do not. Even if you're in the number one market and you're doing a number one show, it's very rare that you're able to stay. And that's usually, in radio's defense, it's usually because they would have changed ownership and done some other things, so you don't have that opportunity to grow your base like an Angie Martinez. But yeah, it happens less for most of us.
Yeah. I remember applying for a job as an administrative assistant, and they, in the interview, I was talking to the representative, and they were like, well, we really just you don't have much experience with phones. And I'm like, I've been answering request lines for 12 years. What do you mean I don't have experience with
and
phones?
On a whole mic talking to millions.
And on a whole mic. I've been answering the phone, editing the call, playing the records, marking the request, doing my liners, marking the log. Like, what do you mean I don't have experience with phones? Like, this is all I've been doing.
Crazy. It's crazy. But what I'm learning too, because I'm in the middle of this transition, I really feel like I am embarking on, or I have embarked on, a brand new life, whole brand spanking new life. Feels like I just graduated from college again.
Right. Yeah.
It's not the best feeling in the world.
Exactly.
Especially when you're used to things going a certain way. But now I'm learning, to your point, that even on a resume, you have to speak their language. So although you've done all of these things, we have to figure out a way to translate it into corporate language so that they can understand. Right. It is insane that you'd have to explain that, but you do.
Yeah, because I don't want to sound like.
Oh, go ahead.
The only way I can say it is like corporate people. There are people who like are fine with like 9 to 5. Let me check the box. Let me be a number. And a lot of times they don't understand creative people, because our foundation a lot of times is not grounded, right? There's no, every 2 weeks you get a paycheck, and you fill out, you do your taxes every April, and there's no like concrete thing.
Right.
And so it's hard for them to grasp, and they just look at like, oh, y'all these free-willing hippies. But no,
Mhm.
it's just like, I can't sit in a cubicle 8 hours a day and keep saying thank you for calling United Healthcare.
Yeah.
And even as a creative, if you do something like that, you're gonna be creative with that, right? Your
Mhm.
cubicle is gonna have all kinds of decorations. You're probably gonna answer every call in a different voice or something
Yes.
like that. Like,
Yes.
your little quality assurance agent is on there listening to your calls like, what is she doing? But some people just,
You have to entertain yourself in some way. You
yeah, some
do.
people, we've all been taught like, grow up, go to school, get a good job. And for some people that is enough, and that's fine for them.
Right.
For other people, we want to create. It's not necessarily about the job or about the pay. It's about putting the art into the world or connecting with people on a different type of level. Um, and yeah, it absolutely is like, I'm 42 now,
Mhm.
and now I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment. And when I left, uh, when I first came to LA, and I was like sleeping on my stepmom's couch, and I was at like my aunt's house for a little while, and then I had roommates. Like, I'm 37 years old with
Mhm.
roommates.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't had roommates since college, and it's just like, I have moments where I'm sitting here like, this feels like I should be doing this at when I was 19, 20. Now when I'm 42, I need to be in a house with the backyard and all that other stuff. But and that'll come, but sometimes that's just how life moves, you know what I mean? And
Especially when you're a creative, because to your point, we don't necessarily have an opportunity to stay in one place for a very long time to show
Mhm.
longevity, and which is what corporate America is looking for, as opposed to what we were able to produce while we were there.
Right.
And so there, if you're looking at a timeline, it does look like you're just a gypsy. I totally resonate with you. And
Mhm.
it does mess with your mind too, because you know that you're good, your worth and value on this earth is worthy of the house, the car, whatever it is that you want in life. But it's a different feeling when you have ideas and you've got to bring it down to um material level, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. And
Yeah.
sometimes that idea takes a while to translate,
Right.
while
Mhm.
everybody else is looking at you like you turned a certain age, and what are you
Yeah.
doing with your life? It's like,
And it's
stop killing me here, work with
right.
me.
And it's just the way capitalism is set up. Like, you work, you make your money, you give the government their money. And when you're creative, a lot of times it doesn't come like that,
Yeah,
you
it
know what
does
I
not.
mean? Like, you'll get sponsorships for your podcast, or you might sell a piece of art you painted, or even getting a radio job, even getting a full-time shift at radio, you know what I mean? Like, it's so many, it's just not as structured, you know what I mean? And then being on the TV and film side, on the producer side, it's like you get your checks based on what you can sell. So like, we sold that show, but if I don't sell another show for another 2-3 years, who's to say, you know what I mean? Or if I don't book, and like with this, with auditioning and stuff, that's all based on another producer being like, well, she looks like who I want for this role, or I liked her read, or based on how somebody feels about you, which is not tangible, compared to a resume. Like, a feeling versus I did this, and this. There is just two different worlds. But
And
you just keep going, man. And I think the wonderful thing about it, that has been wonderful, especially for Black creatives, is the internet, because we don't have to wait for anybody. We don't have to go to these studios. We don't have to wait for podcast networks, none of that. You can get a mic. You can get a mic off Amazon. You can get a camera off Amazon, or use your phone and fire it up and do your podcast and make a whole series. I mean, look at Issa Rae, from
Right.
Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl on her YouTube page to Insecure on HBO, and production deals, helping her friends, you know what I mean, as well as teaching other creatives. So I think it's a great time. I think it's a great time for Black creatives. I also, especially women, I also think that we have to unlearn a lot of these societal standards that are on us, especially for Black women, like when it comes to whether it's respectability or having a job or having a man or whatever. We have to unlearn, and it takes time, but we have to unlearn a lot of that, and we have to love ourselves enough to be able to accept ourselves for who we are. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
You may not be the girl that wants to, flounce around from city to city trying to have a radio or acting career. You may be the girl that wants to work at United Healthcare Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. And that's fine. And love yourself for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you may not be the girl that wants to get married and have 3 kids, even though everybody in your family is like, well, when you going to have kids? That's fine too, girl. Yeah. And you might be the one that wants to have 10 kids.
Right. God bless you if you are, but yeah.
Yeah. God bless you, girl, because that seemed like a whole bunch of work.
Oh my gosh. And during COVID too, oh my word, I would not want to be a parent with small children right now.
Listen,
although my prayers go out to those who have to, but
my sister had a son in June. And so that's like been the only times I've broken my quarantine, because they've been quarantining heavy, and she's got a 3-year-old. Oh. And I was holding my nephew one day, and my brother-in-law was like, you look, you're doing a great job. He loves you. You look good with a kid. And I was like, I do. But you know what? The best part about this job is I'm going to leave him right here with you. He going to love his auntie, and he going to miss me when I'm gone. And then I'm going to come back and get all the love and not have to pay the bills and not have to feed her.
Exactly. Yep. Oh my gosh. I am so thrilled that I had an opportunity to talk to you, because you are bringing up so many different points about this business that I think a lot of people take it for granted. And as creatives, we internalize it, but it really is a pain in the ass to have to deal with what society says that you should be doing, and then have your creativity matched by what corporate America does, because they don't match. And, and you just said something a moment ago. It may take you, I don't know how long to produce something, a product to even sell. Right. And then it takes you a little time to sell it. And then you go on to the next thing. So, I mean, in the meantime, we're applying for jobs, like we just mentioned, administrative assistant work, production work, even I even applied for a production job in TV. I mean, it was like a junior position. It was like interning almost, and still got declined. And I'm like, what the hell?
Absolutely. And they have, listen, I see every day out here in these job listings, they'll be like, we need a PA. You're going to make minimum wage. And they'll be like, must have 3 years of experience. Huh?
Right. Huh? And you won't be able to pay your bills after getting this job, because we ain't really paying you.
Right. And you're going to be with us 12 to 16 hours a day. So it's not like you're going to have time to do anything else. I got to have 3 years of experience to take Starbucks orders, because that's what PAs do. Like, don't, anybody watching this, don't get it twisted. You getting Starbucks, you taking out the trash, you might be picking somebody up or dropping off some hard drives, or you running errands. You know what I mean? You're running errands. You're not writing. You're not producing. You're not shooting anything. And actually, sometimes you are. Honestly, sometimes they be taking advantage of PAs. They be like, hold this camera. No, why am I holding the camera when the assistant camera would get $1,500 for holding the camera, and I'm only gonna get $100 for the day? Absolutely
See?
not. Absolutely not.
Gosh, but you got to know the difference, and you absolutely need that inside information so you're not taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that this platform provides creatives, not just Black women in radio, but Black women who have gone through radio to get to wherever else they are right now. So, wow, this
Okay. Can I say one more thing though
yes.
about radio, and that, because that shit happens in radio too. Like now, what I noticed,
Oh
like when I left, when I was starting in radio, right? You do a midday shift and you get paid, or afternoon shift, and you could get paid well for doing that midday shift.
yeah, right.
Around 2008, 2009, now I see all these job postings and it'll be like 40,000 a year, and you're gonna do middays. You're gonna be the promotions assistant, and you're gonna have to
Yes.
do and a production director. What? What?
Two other people's jobs.
Yes, for $40,000? No, absolutely not.
Yes,
Absolutely
yes,
not.
yes. Or they get you to become a social media manager, which is a full-time job itself, for
Absolutely,
sure.
absolutely.
You are absolutely right about that. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, Crystal. Okay, let me ask you about the imposter syndrome piece, because
Okay.
that is a real thing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people realize that, especially from, I would say, leaders and people who are in the um, public eye, because we have a way of covering it up until we go home
Mm-hmm.
and we're at home alone. And then all these thoughts start flooding through, like,
Yep.
am I worthy, or was I good enough? I remember beating myself up severely for mispronouncing a word on air or something, and it was like,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until like late in my career that I realized I didn't have to be perfect. But during that whole time, I was like on fire trying to do it just right. And you really become your best when you are yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have imposter syndrome, it gets in your way. How
Yeah.
was it with you?
Um. So for me, with radio, I find I didn't have imposter syndrome. Like I was very, very sure about that. Like when I decided that that's what I wanted to do, I was like, oh, I can do this. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Um. But in terms of like it transferring it over to this television and film side, like I said, it's a lot of it, we talked about, your resume not measuring up to what other people are used to seeing. And so you get a lot of people literally telling you, well, that doesn't seem like it'll work. That what does radio have to do with it? And people, even back then, people just thought of radio as background noise. All you
Yeah.
do is play records all day. Like it's not a skill, it's not a thing.
Right.
So for me, I mean, and no, I did have it, especially when I got to Houston, because that was a top 10 market. And I was like, yo, like,
Yeah.
how did I get here? And in my head, I would put it on like my connection who, brought my resume to the PD and all this other stuff. But connections will get you there, talent will keep you there. And,
Exactly.
it's just the thing about believing in yourself, right?
It is. Yep.
And a lot of us, we get so beaten down, especially, and I'm just gonna say, especially Black women.
Hmm.
We get questioned so many times about our achievements that sometimes you start to believe it,
You do.
and
Just
you
seeps
and
in.
you yeah, and you might, and I have had to just look in the mirror and be like, I'm a working actress. I'm a radio personality, and have the come to Jesus meeting with yourself.
Mhm.
Um, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? If you have a goal and and all of us can be better at anything. So, you know, you take classes, and it's just about deciphering negativity from actual constructive criticism, and being open, not to change, but to perfect.
Yes, I like
You know
that.
what I mean?
I like that.
Not
And
not to change, but just, you know, okay. Like my pet peeve has always been radio personalities that like puke their voice.
mm,
And I remember talking to one of my friends, and this is when we stopped being friends. She asked me to air check her, and I told her, I was like, stop puking your voice. You don't, when we talk, you talk to me like this. When you're on the radio, you're talking like this.
yeah.
Don't, you're gonna die. You're gonna run out of breath.
Yes.
You know, she didn't want to talk to me after that. And I was just like, sis,
I'm
I'm
just
not
trying to
telling
help
you.
you.
Yeah, I'm not telling you be a whole different person, be you. But you don't have to do this, because we know it's not you. And when you get out in public, you don't talk like that. Like, girl, it's all right.
Oh my gosh, that is so true though. But I think that was the sound of the 80s and early 90s. And then, you know, it was like, start sounding like yourself.
Right.
I
And that was
remember
my
being
point, because it
accused
was,
of that. I remember that. And I couldn't hear what
mm-hmm.
the program director was saying. But when I finally got it, I had to laugh out loud. I was like, was I really doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were.
This particular woman, it was like 2008. So I was
Oh,
like, sis. And she was only like 24. I'm like, you don't, why do you sound like a 40-year-old with 2 kids?
Now that I could see.
You know, trying to like, juvenile, back that ass up, coming up. Like, I'm like, girl, it doesn't even, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is so funny. Well, you know, self-worth is a thing, especially in our community. And women, Black women, are so used to being told, nope, you don't quite fit the mold. Nope, don't quite fit that checkbox. You know, it's weight, it's size, it's skin color, it's hair, it's nails, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. We're not as easily accepted as
Right.
most people. And so because of that, we really have to make sure that we're not listening to the background noise of other people's opinions about who you are and who you should be, and really focus on your talent. Because when you do, though, Cristal, decide for whatever reason to obtain a transferable skill, you do have to find that confidence to pull it off. I taught myself Adobe Premiere, self-taught. That was like learning German. I mean, it was not easy at all. It's not. It's a whole new language.
Honestly, I gave up on it.
Did you? I mean, it's
my
a
boy
pill.
Khalil was trying to teach me, and I gave up because I discovered that on Final Cut you can just use one button to edit green screen, and I was like, I'll be doing this.
Yep.
I'll be doing this right here.
You just don't have as many bells and whistles as Premiere, but
all right.
Yeah, you say that's all right. It gets the job done.
It's all right. It does.
Yeah.
When I need bells and whistles, I just have to hire somebody.
Pass it on.
I ain't got it.
What did you have to teach yourself in production in order to be really good at it?
I had to teach myself patience, because I'm like the type of person that, like, if I don't get it in the first 2 swipes, like, forget it. Never mind, I just can't do it. It's just hard and stupid, and no.
Yes.
So patience is key. And I had to teach myself that you mean actual production tools, or?
Well, in order to put your production hat on, what did you have to teach yourself in order to be successful in what you do?
Patience and discipline. And I come from, my background in acting is more improv, so I don't write. and not in a, I say this, but not in like a cocky way. Like, you know, they say Jay-Z never write rhymes. Like I don't physically write scenes and scripts. Like I'll, you know, talk to
It's
Khalil,
here.
I'll talk to Eric, yeah, and I'll be like, this should happen, this, and then usually somebody else will type it up.
Yeah.
Or if I'm doing like my own little Instagram sketches or whatever, and I call a homie over, I'll be like, okay, you say this, and I'm gonna say that, and we gonna do this, and da 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 da.
Right.
So I have taught myself the discipline of having to sit down and spend the time to physically write a sketch or write a script out. Of course, patience. And the thing is for me, it's a lot of patience with myself, because I'll be like, you know what, fuck it, forget it. I don't know, whatever. I don't have to do this. It's not making me money. It doesn't have to get done.
Yes. Yeah, that's the other thing too, because you do a self-check. It's like, why am I working so damn hard and I'm not getting paid like tomorrow, and I've got 2 bills due?
Right.
You know, that'll make you pump your brakes in a heartbeat. But in order to be creative and successful at it, you do have to have that patience. You are absolutely right. I want to ask you one more thing before we wrap up, Cristal. I could talk to you forever. I feel like we've known each other forever.
Yeah, man.
About agents.
To
find an agent or not to find an agent? That is the question.
So you need, I feel like an agent only works as hard for you as you work for yourself.
See, and most people think, okay, I find an agent and they're going to bust their butt to get me all of these jobs. But you're absolutely right. You still have to brand yourself.
You still have to brand yourself. And what I found, like, I didn't have an agent in my radio years, but having representation now in my acting career, I have legit booked more stuff self-submitting than I have with my management. And my management and my agent, they will submit me for bigger stuff, but I will submit me for stuff that I book. So I think it's very important to have an agent that knows and understands your goals for yourself and is with it. So like a conversation I had with my manager was like, I really love doing sketch comedy. I want to do Saturday Night Live. I want to do that. Thank you. I want to do Saturday Night Live. I want to do a Black lady sketch show. I want to do, I want to do Insecure. I want to do shows that my folks watch and are into. And my agent, who's not Black, but my agent's thing was like, well, yeah, we could go that route, or you could become a big TV film star and you can host Saturday Night Live. And it's like, yeah, I could. And, it's happened for like Melissa McCarthy and a lot of other people. Right. But like, if that's something I want to do, when you see those listings, I need you to submit me. And I need you to not look at it like this show isn't mainstream enough. Some of them look at it like, is this show mainstream enough for my clientele or to have my name attached to it? And it's like, honestly, fam, it's not about you. It's about the trajectory I want my career to have. Yeah. So you definitely have to brand yourself. And I would say when you're just starting in the game, don't worry about an agent, especially when it comes to like acting, because there's like LA Casting Actors Access where you can submit yourself and build your resume and get your reel. And then they also want a percentage. Like, I did a commercial and 40% of my pay went to, it was booked through a friend's agent. And I had to pay my agent 20% and I had to pay her agent 20%. Which is, and you know what? Cardi B has spoken about that too. Like, so, you splitting the pie. And if you're not getting a big check, if you're getting paid $500 and 40% of it you got to pay the agent,
and you're doing, wow, yeah, ouch.
and then you're
Interesting
gonna have to pay
perspective.
taxes after that, right? And you pay
Mhm.
taxes on the
On both
500.
ends, right?
You don't pay taxes
Oh, you
on the
what you
little
just got.
200, 250 that you brought home. You pay taxes on the 500. So,
Oh man.
yeah, agent representation, they're only going to work as hard for you as you work for yourself. And if you're coming in, say, if you're somebody who's like, and then it happens a lot. It happens a lot. Like you'll submit yourself for something and you'll get booked, and it happens like you'll get the luck of the draw and you'll be like a lead on a Disney show out of nowhere or whatever. You've been in LA for 2 months and you'll book like a blockbuster, Fast and Furious 27 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you get with like CAA or whatever. And though like with you, if you have that momentum, they'll really work for you, right? Like Cristal Bubblin was on, I don't know, Greenleaf, which I wasn't, but Cristal Bubblin she played Lady May on Greenleaf. So now, they feel like they have something to work with.
Yeah.
If you're coming in and you're building up and you got like, you did background on an episode of Glee, or you were like featured in a Pepsi commercial where they saw your face, so you got the clip, but you only had like one line, there's a little less urgency on the agent's part to put you out there. Yeah. So yeah, I'd say if and you can always fire them if you get tired of it, but you can. But I don't think that it's a mandatory thing. I don't think it's a mandatory thing. I think you need an agent when you have really more bookings than you can handle, and you're really trying to refine your trajectory. But
thank you for that perspective. That it's really important, because I do know that people want different streams of income, multiple streams of income. And as you're looking at radio, TV, acting, producing, it's still creative work. And I just like to, ask those questions for those who are interested in going the next step, wherever that direction is, if it's, to get an agent or not, what some variety of ideas are. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because I will tell you, my manager, Khalil, and I have the same manager. He introduced me to her. Okay. Khalil, when he met with her, he told her that he's interested in producing and selling shows more than he is in acting. Now, we've done these 3 shows. She didn't come to our premiere party. She hasn't tried to sell the show. We told her after the fact that we sold the show, and when I booked the T-Mobile ad through my other friend's agent, and she was like, "Oh, so I'm due a percentage
of what you already worked on." Wow.
I was like, "No, ma'am, you're not. No, ma'am." Wow. And you can sit there and wait for it. You can send me the collections. But what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm here to tell you is no, ma'am. And some managers and some agents do feel that way. And also, I'm non-union, so there are no rules. Like if you're in the union, they have stricter guidelines about representation doing that. But being non-union, they just be like, "Oh, well, anything you do, I get a cut of." And I'm here to tell you, not Cristal. I don't know about anybody else,
but don't come over there with that mess.
If you send me out for it and I book it, sure. If I get it on my own, nah, man. Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
And I've had where I've submitted myself for something and the agent submitted me for something, and my submission was the one that got me in.
How about that? Wow.
Yeah.
And she's still waiting on, or the agent's still waiting on their cut. Woo, girl. I don't care what industry of the media you're interested in. It all has just gobs of
Mess.
red tape and
Mess.
stuff
Yes.
you gotta sift through in order to get to just being who you are and producing. That's crazy. One more thing before we go.
Okay, we can go all day. I'm with it.
I love it. And
I'm with it. I'm enjoying talking to y'all.
girl, what? We have to do this again. But
Yeah.
before we end, we always do word association. So,
Oh boy. Okay.
are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. R&B or hip hop?
Hip hop.
Religious or spiritual?
Spiritual.
Sports car, luxury car, or SUV?
Luxury SUV.
Okay, that works. Day or night?
Night.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Steak or sushi?
Ooh. Steak.
Wine or shots?
Shots. Shot.
Somehow I heard that in the back of my mind. I knew you were going to do that. Marriage or a buddy? I know.
See, I'm a buddy person
Mm-hmm.
for the physical, but I'm a marriage person for the legalities of it.
For the
You know?
legalities of it.
Because I always think of it like this, right? Like a lot of like you could be with somebody, right? And you could be buddies, and you could be like, oh, we have an open relationship, or we do our thing. What is
Right.
understood doesn't need to be explained, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you be with them for years, and then they get sick, and then this family member comes along that's like, oh, well, I'm gonna take them off the ventilator, and that might have been against their wishes, but that family member doesn't know their wishes because they ain't been here, and you've been here, but you can't say nothing because y'all ain't married.
That is,
you know what I
messed up.
mean?
That's very true.
So that's where I'm like, that's why I say like I like marriage for the legalities, but I like the buddy aspect for the freedom. Yeah.
I love you said freedom.
For the freedom. For the like, if I just be like, you know what? I don't want to do this no more. I can leave. You know what I'm saying? I can just go. You know what I mean? I like to be able to just, you know what? This is a wrap. I'm done. You know what I mean? But also, I don't want like, your long lost cousin to like take you off the ventilator.
Exactly.
Try to get your insurance money when I know, all the work you put in and that you might recover, you know what I'm saying? Like that. So
yeah. Well, that is just so kind and warm-hearted of you. I love that answer.
I'm a Cancer, man. We want
to take care of everybody. You
yeah.
do. I love that. Well, Cristal, I am asking you right now, please come back.
Absolutely, Felicia. Thank you so much for having me. And again, I just want to apologize to you and anybody listening and watching for being late. I'm so sorry.
We are so good. We are so good. And you've given us so much valuable information. And we are putting together our conference for 2021. Please, COVID, go away so we can have some more fun. But I would love to have you on our guest list to
I'm
either
there.
teach or be on a panel or something wonderful.
Oh, I'm there.
All right.
You don't have to call my manager.
I don't have to have my people to call your people.
No. I'm my people. I'm our people.
Love it. I love it. Well, thank you again and have such a wonderful evening and be safe out there. And if you need me at all for anything, please don't hesitate to call.
I won't. Thank you again.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
Yay,
Anytime.
you too.
Careful as you exit your VIP seats. They will be waiting for you next Wednesday when we talk to Michelle Wright. Make sure you subscribe to Black Women in Radio podcast on all social media and check out our website at www.blackwomeninradio.com.